in our urgent labor of arming a decent humanity against the enemies which beset it.
MOHAI Radio Theater and AM 880 KIXI present A Homefront Christmas, written and directed by Feliks Banel and recorded before a live audience at the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. This is your announcer, Dan Murphy, speaking. Tonight's radio play stars Dave Dolacky, Tracey Conway, Chris Wedes, Bob Newman, and Bob Brooks. At Christmas time, 1941, Seattle was a city transfigured by the United States' dramatic entry into World War II, following the December 7th Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Looking back, it's easy to appreciate this time as a prelude to 4 years of war that would end with an Allied victory, as if scripted for a film or documentary series. At the time, however, residents of Seattle and the rest of the country had no idea what would ultimately happen in Europe and in the Pacific. The uncertainty at the onset of war, combined with the approaching holidays, provided the inspiration for tonight's radio play. The characters, organizations, and specific circumstances are all imagined. Our story begins late in the afternoon of December 18th, 1941. Dan Arthur, a Seattle native who owns 2 theaters for which he books films and live entertainment, is hurriedly wrapping up the day's work so that he may get to his yet unfinished Christmas shopping. Dan is a widower in his late 30s. He's tall, with straight, dark hair and sympathetic brown eyes, like a Cocker Spaniel. He's dressed in a brown 3-piece woolen suit with a colorful silk tie and a thick-soled black leather shoes. Dan's assistant at his company, the Arthur and Traft Agency, is Miss Norris, a spinster in her early 30s, with curly brown hair and sparkling blue eyes that crinkle when she smiles. She's dressed in a tweed suit with long skirt and low-heeled lace-up shoes.
Okay, let's see here. I need to call back the guy with the mouse puppet and see if his January engagement can be extended. Then there's the trained seals. And, oh, yeah, almost forgot. Flinky the tap dancing penguin. Where'd I put those numbers? I can't find anything in this mess. I may as well call it a day. Oh, Miss Norris.
Yes, Mr. Arthur.
I'm sorry, Miss Norris, but I've lost the phone number for the guy with the mouse puppet and the guy with the seals and the penguin. Would you mind to track those down for me?
Well, I wouldn't mind at all, Mr. Arthur.
Oh, thank you, Miss Norris. Sorry, but with the war and everything lately, I'm a little distracted. Okay, a lot distracted.
It's a strange time right now, Mr. Arthur, that's for certain.
Sam and Polly have been pretty upset, too. Sam's quiet, but Polly's woken me up in the middle of the night and asked me questions I can't answer.
Speaking of Sam and Polly, hadn't you better be getting your Christmas shopping done? I have a copy of the list they gave you.
You have a copy of my children's list? Sam and Polly's Christmas list?
Yes, sir. I typed it up from the notes they brought in last week, and I made 3 carbon copies. See?
Miss Norris, what would I do without you? You're the best.
Oh, gee, Mr.
No,
Arthur.
really. You could just about run this place without me and take care of my kids' Christmas list, too. I ought to marry you before you get away.
Mr. Arthur.
I should kneel down right now and propose before some dashing young bachelor snaps you up.
Oh, Mr. Arthur.
I'm sorry. I'm just an old widower being silly on account of I'm so tired.
No, that's okay. I forgive you.
So what are you doing for Christmas this year?
Oh, same as always, I suppose. I'll spend the day with my mom. We'll have a quiet dinner together.
Just the 2 of you, huh?
Oh, yeah, just the 2 of us. Well, 3, if you count my mom's cat, Clarence.
Well, what about Harry Bailey? What's he doing for Christmas?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Arthur. I haven't seen Harry since the St. Patrick's Day dance.
You haven't? Oh, I thought maybe you 2 were getting serious.
Oh, no, Mr. Arthur, no. I'm kind of sweet on a different guy, but I don't think he knows it.
What was that you said?
Oh, nothing. Listen, I'd better get that. I'll just grab it here at your desk.
Okay, thanks.
Arthur and Traft Agency, how may I help you? The mayor's office. Yes.
The mayor?
Let me check if Mr. Arthur is available. It's the mayor's office. They want to talk to you.
Gee, I wonder what about.
I don't know yet, but I'll tell them you're available.
Okay.
Thank you for holding. Mr. Arthur is available now. Oh, you're putting the mayor through now? Well, thank you. Here you go.
Hello? Hello, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor, the Arthur and Traft Agency. No, I'm not Schrapp. He was my business partner, but he passed away nearly 7 years ago. That's right. My name is Dan Arthur. Dan Arthur. You want me to come and meet with you? Tomorrow morning? Why, yes, Your Honor. I can be at your office at City Hall at 9 a.m., certainly. And if I might ask, what is this meeting about? Oh, I see. We'll discuss it then. Well, all right then. Thank you, Your Honor. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Goodbye. Now, that's strange. I wonder why the mayor wants to see me. Miss Norris?
Yes, Mr. Arthur?
Miss Norris, I'm going to be in late tomorrow.
Oh, yes, sir, I know.
You do?
Well, I was listening on the extension.
Of course.
I can't imagine why the mayor wants to see you on such short notice.
Me neither. But I can't worry about that now. I've got my Christmas shopping to do.
Oh, here, Mr. Arthur. Don't forget.
Oh, of course. The list. Are you staying much longer tonight, Miss Norris?
Well, I have a few contracts and transmittal memos to type, but then I'm headed for my bus.
Very good. Now, don't stay too late. I'll see you tomorrow, then, after my meeting with His Honor.
Good luck, Mr. Arthur.
Thank you. Good night, Miss Norris.
Good night, Dan.
Outside the Pioneer Square offices of Arthur and Schraff, the streets of Seattle are strangely dark, even for late December, and a breeze has whipped up the last leaves and bits of trash fluttering down the narrow streets. With war declared in Japan and civil authorities on high alert, cities all along the West Coast are taking preventative measures, including blacking out lights to minimize the threat of naval or aerial attack. Dan Arthur and other shoppers go about their gift buying, trying to reclaim the holiday spirit lost on Sunday, December 7th, a date President Roosevelt had said which would live in infamy. After a few hours of late afternoon shopping at Rhodes, the Bon Marché, and Frederick and Nelson, Dan Arthur drives his trusty Ford sedan to the home on 34th Street on Seattle's Capitol Hill. He shares with his 9-year-old daughter, Polly, 11-year-old son, Sam, and Dan's widowed mother. As Dan enters the front door of his home, he smells the spaghetti his mother has made for the family dinner.
Children, I think I hear your father. Polly, can you please finish setting the table?
Yes, Grandma.
And Sam, can you please get the milk from the icebox?
I've got it.
Hey, everybody, I'm home.
Hello, Dan.
Hi, Daddy. Hey, Pop.
I'm beat. It's good to finally be home after such a long day. How is everyone?
Good, Daddy.
That's great, sweetie. How about you, Tiger?
I'm fine, Dad.
Good to hear.
Everyone's fine, Dan. How are you? How was work today?
A typical day at the Arthur and Schrapp Agency. Mostly routine. Oh, and I almost forgot. I got a phone call at the end of the day, and now I've got to meet with the mayor first thing tomorrow morning.
The mayor?
Yeah, His Honor, all right.
Are you in trouble, Daddy?
No, sweetie, I don't think so. Not yet, anyway.
Good. Polly, if Dad was in trouble, they'd throw him in jail. They would?
No, sweetie, I'm not going to jail. Sam, don't scare your sister.
Yes, Sam.
And Polly, you let me handle your brother. Hey, is dinner ready? Is that Grandma's spaghetti I smell?
Yes, Dan. I thought you'd enjoy your favorite dinner. You've looked very tired lately and a little thin. But I only made tomato sauce to conserve meat for the war effort here on the home front.
It still smells good, even without the meatballs.
Let's all sit down and eat before it gets cold.
What does the mayor want to talk to you about, Pop?
I honestly don't know. Pass the bread, please, Sam. All I've seen in the paper lately about the mayor is stuff about the Victory Committee.
Here you go, Dad.
Thanks. You know, it's times like these that I really miss your mother and her woman's intuition. She'd probably know exactly why the mayor wanted to talk to me, and she'd know what I should say to him, too.
I miss Mommy, too, Daddy.
I'm sorry she got sick, kids. Even after 3 years, it's still hard to believe she's gone.
That's okay, Daddy. Yeah, we miss Mom, too.
Now, you three, your mother was a lovely woman, and I miss her, too. But I know her pretty well, and it seems to me she wouldn't want us all moping around, especially at Christmas time.
Well, you're right, Mom. It's just tough sometimes without a wife and mother around.
Daddy, why don't you marry Miss Norris? She's really swell.
Polly,
has Grandma been talking to you about Miss Norris?
Yeah, but Grandma told me not to say.
Mom?
Kids, I think your father would rather talk about something else. And since I thought all three of you could use something to cheer you up, I made Jell-O for dessert.
Oh, boy, Jell-O. And it's red, my favorite flavor.
That'll make a swell dessert. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Grandma.
After dessert, you two do your homework, okay? Santa's watching.
Dad, I'm too old for that stuff.
What do you mean? You're never too old for homework.
That's not what I meant.
I know what you meant, Tiger.
Can you read me a bedtime story, Daddy, the night before Christmas?
Sure, Polly. That'd be perfect.
The next morning, Dan puts on his best suit, gabardine overcoat and gray fedora, and drives to City Hall in downtown Seattle. The weather has taken a characteristic turn for the cold and wet, and Dan feels chilled as he leaves the warmth of his sedan and walks a short block to Seattle's Civic Building. He opens the heavy door and makes his way across the terrazzo marble lobby to a bank of streamlined brass elevators, where he pushes the up button and rides the first car to the top floor.
Well, this must be the place. I'll ask the receptionist. Oh, excuse me.
May I help you, sir?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Dan Arthur, and I have a 9 a.m. appointment to see the mayor.
Yes, Mr. Arthur. The mayor is expecting you. Please have a seat, and I'll let him know you are here.
Thank you. I hope I'm not in trouble. I'd hate to disappoint Polly and end up in jail. Maybe that Seal and Penguin act was too over the top.
Mr. Arthur, the mayor will see you now. Go ahead and go on in through the large doors.
Thank you. Thank you. These doors here, the big wooden ones?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Well, hello, Your Honor. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schrapp. Come on in. How nice to see you.
Thank you, Your Honor. But I'm Mr. Arthur of the Arthur and Schrapp Agency.
Yeah, of course.
Schrapp was my business partner, my mentor, really, who passed away on Christmas Eve, 1934.
Yes, I believe you mentioned that here on the phone yesterday. My apologies, Mr. Schrapp, but my condolences to Mr. Arthur's family. Please, have a seat.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Say, do you smoke? Please, have a cigar.
Oh, well, no, thank you.
Are you sure? These are pretty good cigars.
Okay. Yes, please.
Here, let me light that for you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're quite welcome. How's it taste?
Smooth. Real smooth.
Good. Very good. Now, listen, young man. You probably don't know this, but I'm a big fan of the work of Arthur and Schrapp Agency, and I've had my eye on you for a few years now.
You are? You have? Well, I'm quite pleased.
Well, yes, I'd say the Arthur and Schrapp Agency is just about the best in the city of Seattle.
Well, thank you. We do pride ourselves on it.
And you were the first person I thought of when I had my little idea yesterday. Well, actually, it's quite a big idea. Something of a brainstorm.
Me? You thought of me? Well, I'm quite flattered by your thinking.
And it's my unbiased opinion. I'd say that my idea is a doozy. The real cat's pajamas. Wouldn't you agree?
Your idea, sir?
Yes, Mr.
Arthur?
Yeah,
sir?
Mr. Arthur. Well, this is a challenging times for America. And a challenging time for people who live on the West Coast, including here in Seattle.
It certainly is.
The attack on American soil at Pearl Harbor, the nightly blackouts, the fear of attack, the projected shortages, the thought of our boys overseas, well, it's enough to upset even the most patriotic of our citizens.
Well, I agree. We've seen a drop in business at our theaters, and I'm not sure what we're going to do about that.
Well, Mr. Arthur, maybe I can help you out. What the people of Seattle need is something to cheer them up, something to remind them what's really important this time of the year.
I agree.
And there's nothing like a good old-fashioned entertainment to take your mind off your troubles. You know, I was in Glee Club in college, and I was a mighty fine tenor, if I say so.
Were you now?
I was. In fact, if I hadn't chosen politics, or politics hadn't chosen me, well, I might just have become a crooner like that Tacoma boy, Crosby.
Entertainment is certainly important to everybody, and especially important to my business, that's for sure.
That's why I'd like you to produce a holiday show for the voters, the people of Seattle, to be performed in your theater on December 24th and broadcast on the radio all over Puget Sound.
Wow, that's only 5 days from now. But maybe we could put something together.
Of course we can. We must. Something local and fun with jokes about slugs and the rainfall and the kalakala. You know, the kind of Seattle humor that everybody loves.
Why, I'd be honored to do that, sir. What's your budget for the show?
There is no budget.
No budget?
And I already know who I want in the show, who must star in the show.
You do?
Yes, my boy. This occasion calls for the return of the greatest vaudeville team this city has ever known. Seattle's favorite sons of the teens.
Oh, no, you don't mean
Oh, yes, I'm talking about the only two stars who could really rally the city into action.
With all due respect, Your Honor, you can't be serious.
Boy, I've never been more serious in my life.
But those two guys are absolutely...
Yeah, that's right. Hayward and Benson. Those two guys are Seattle's greatest stars. They'll cheer up everyone. Guaranteed.
But, Mr. Mayor, sir, Your Honor, Hayward and Benson haven't performed anywhere in at least 20 years.
All the more reason to bring them back now during a time of national crisis, when we need them most.
Are you sure they're even still alive?
Hayward and Benson are the greatest performers this city has ever known. Why, I remember one show in particular when they returned to Seattle after a national tour.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a great big hometown welcome to the stars of our show, Seattle's own Hayward and Benson.
Oh, Benson.
Yes, Hayward?
Did you ever hear the one about the gooey duck and the logger?
Why, no, I don't believe that I did.
Oh, is that right? Well, you didn't hear the one about the gooey duck and the logger? That's too bad. I was hoping you'd tell it to me. Say, Benson.
Yes, Hayward?
Shall we sing a song now?
Yes, let's do it. Let's sing a song.
What shall we sing?
That's a good question, Hayward. Now, what shall we sing?
I know. How about The Sunny Day in Puget Sound? It's a sunny day in Puget Sound.
No, not that one. Let's sing Mabel. Mabel, she's the girl I like the best. She's got big eyes and she's got great...
Benson. This is a family show. We're not going to sing Mabel and Mabel for this audience because this is Seattle, not Chicago.
All right.
You know, they really were fantastic, those two. What a team. My. The memories I have of their shows at the Orpheum and at the Moore.
And if I remember correctly what my partner Schraff told me, they have the worst reputation in the business. They're absolutely impossible to work with.
Well, you know, that's why I called you, my boy. You got a reputation for putting on a really big show and for doing it with class.
Mr. Mayor, I mean no respect, but a holiday show with Hayward and Benson on less than a week's notice is impossible.
Well, then I suggest you get to work on it right away, especially if you want to keep your business license.
My business license?
Good. I'm glad we understand each other. Now, Mr. Arthur, if you please excuse me, I've got to go see my tailor and have my tuxedo altered for the big show. My assistant can help you with any minor details, a contact person at the radio station, a press release to promote the show, whatever you need. Except for money, of course. Now, good day.
Good day.
We'll be right back with more of the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas.
This is AM 880 KIXI, your station for great songs, great memories. And you're listening to the Kixie Saturday Night Spotlight. This evening, a live radio drama coming to you from the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. Let's return to the stage in our exciting Christmas story.
Welcome back to the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas. A stunned Dan Arthur hurries back to his office, where he describes the meeting with the mayor to the lovely Miss Norris, whose pretty brow and warm smile wrinkle into a frown as she hears the news.
And so here we are, 5 days to produce a holiday show with Hayward and Benson, who haven't appeared anywhere for 20 years, or we're out of business.
Is it really that bad, Dan?
I think so. The mayor sounded very serious about doing the show or losing our business license.
Gee.
So, if we can't put the show together, it's so long to this shabby old office and this shabby old agency. Easy come, easy go. Back into the building and loan business like my old man. So sorry, Mr. Schraft, wherever you are.
We've got to at least try.
Oh, we'll definitely try. But Schraft always said that Hayward and Benson were the two most difficult performers in the history of Seattle show business. Make that King County. Make that Washington State.
Well, people still love them after all these years. Have so many fond memories of them. My mom always talks about the Hayward and Benson shows that she and my father went to when they were first dating.
I know. They put on good shows, but no one's wanted to work with them since 1920. They always made unreasonable demands and never stuck to the script. That's what Schraft used to say anyway. I'm afraid I had to even call them.
I don't blame you.
But I guess I'm even more afraid of losing my business license.
That's a good point.
So, should we look up their numbers? Do you think they're in the book?
Already did. And yes, they are. Mutual 64791.
You are amazing. Will you help me call them? I mean, listen in on the extension?
Of course. What are you going to say?
I don't know. Maybe to try to appeal to their sense of patriotism.
Why don't you butter them up first? You know, pretend to be a big fan. Really, pour it on.
Now you're talking. Let's dial them up.
I can't believe they still have an office.
I can't believe they still have a pulse.
All right, it's ringing.
Hello?
Do I have the pleasure of addressing Mr. Hayward or Mr. Benson?
Pleasure? What are you selling, mister?
No, really. I've always been a big fan of Hayward and Benson, and I really want to talk to them.
Big fan, eh? How many of our records do you own?
Records? Why, I own all of them. Every single one.
Gee, that's funny. Benson and I never put out any records.
Oh, darn. Now I've done it. Time for the patriotic heartstrings. Actually, Mr. Hayward, I'm calling on behalf of the mayor of Seattle, and he wants
the mayor? Why couldn't he call me himself?
Well,
Say it's because he's busy focusing on the war effort.
The mayor is very much dedicated to the war effort here in town, leading the victory committee and all, and he delegated the responsibility to me.
Oh, so why are you calling them?
Well, Mr. Hayward, the mayor has a proposal for you and Mr. Benson that I'd very much like to meet with you about at your earliest convenience.
Meet with us? Why?
Because it would be better to discuss face to face. And because you're a big fan.
Because it's better to discuss face to face, and I really am a big fan. Plus, it's a very important matter.
All right, Mr. Arthur. Benson and I can meet with you as long as you're not going to ask us to come out of retirement and do a show.
Tell him that will be fine.
That'll be fine. Will 10 a.m. tomorrow at your office work? Time is of the essence.
Let me check with Benson to make sure he's available then. Hey, Benson, there's some salesman that wants to meet with us tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Are you available?
Seven.
You are? What's that? Oh, okay, good idea. Okay, Mr. Arthur, 10 o'clock tomorrow on one condition.
Condition?
Yes, Benson wants you to bring sweet rolls. In particular, he wants a raspberry bun, and let's see, I guess I'll have the same. You got that?
Raspberry bun, 2 of them. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you better bring some coffee, too. Black.
Okay, 2 black coffees.
And why don't you get whatever you want for yourself?
Thank you.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes, Mr. Hayward?
That last line about you getting whatever you want for yourself was a joke, get it?
Oh, of course. That's a good joke.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Goodbye. What did I tell you? They're as difficult as ever. I can't believe I'm this far into my career, and I have to schlep coffee and rolls for Hayward and Benson. I'll have the same. You better bring coffee.
Well, this certainly is one of the more, challenging productions we've worked on.
Speaking of productions, we better reserve that theater space, book an orchestra, call up the chorus members, and talk to our friends at the radio station, just in case this show does come together.
I've already taken care of the theater and the orchestra. The chorus and the radio stations are my next call.
Terrific. Miss Norris, what would I do without you?
Oh, gee. You'd probably be fine, Mr. Arthur.
I don't think I would, but I hope I never find out.
The early days of World War II in Seattle in December 1941 were filled with confusion and anxiety. Fearing aerial attack, lights all over the city were blacked out and outdoor holiday decorations were reduced to a minimum. While troops and equipment were mobilized for the war in the Pacific, Seattleites did their part on the home front to keep up morale, conserve fuel and other resources, gather scrap metal for armaments, and ready for the uncertain months and years that lie ahead. Against this gloomy backdrop, Dan Arthur heads home for dinner with his family, wondering how he'll be able to organize a Christmas show with Hayward and Benson in less than 5 days.
So, Polly, how was school today?
It was fun, Daddy. We made paper snowflakes, and I brought some home for our tree.
Our tree? Oh, I almost forgot.
Daddy, how could you forget about our tree?
Oh, I had a strange day today, and I'm a little distracted.
Let's get the tree on Christmas Eve again this year, shall we, Danny? Just like we always used to when you were a kid.
Okay, Mom. But I may be pretty busy on Christmas Eve now that the mayor has enlisted my help with a crazy project.
Well, that's right. You're meeting this morning. Was that the strange part of your day?
Sure was. The strangest of any day this year. The mayor wants me to produce a holiday show with, you'll never believe it, Hayward and Benson.
Hayward and Benson? Oh, Danny. Now, those are a couple names I haven't heard since Hector was a pup. Hayward and Benson. My.
Who are Hayward and Benson, Grandma?
Oh, they're just about the two greatest entertainers Seattle ever saw. Before talking pictures came along, that is. Your grandpa and I used to go and see Hayward and Benson's show at the Orpheum Theater.
You know, Mom, I forgot how much you and Dad liked those guys.
What was so great about them?
Oh, I don't know exactly. Their jokes were corny and the musical numbers they did were silly. But for some reason, we just loved them.
Apparently, the mayor is a big fan, too. He thinks a Hayward and Benson holiday show is exactly what Seattle needs right now to boost the morale about the war.
I think I agree with the mayor, Danny. I have so many great memories. Oh, the naughty jokes that Benson would tell.
What's a naughty joke, Grandma?
Never you mind, Polly.
Yeah, Polly, you're too young to know.
And you are too, Sonny.
Grandma!
You are too young, Sammy.
Hayward and Benson, they were the best of the bunch.
There used to be so many vaudeville acts in this city before the movies came along. Rankin and Bass, Wedes and Newman. Why couldn't the mayor have picked somebody else?
There were lots of teams, but Hayward and Benson really played to the audience. They were funny, and they cared about their fans. They always waited around and patiently talked with the people who hung around outside the stage door. That set them apart from all the others.
But they've got a terrible reputation for the business side of things, making unreasonable demands, changing the terms of the deal. It's a nightmare for a producer. You should have heard Hayward on the phone today. I thought he was going to hang up on me. Then he insisted I bring pastries and coffee to our meeting.
Well, difficult or not, I'd love to see them perform again, and I'll bet I'm not the only one.
I don't know, Mom, but the mayor wants it to happen, which he made clear in no uncertain terms. So I'm meeting with Hayward and Benson tomorrow at 10 a.m. before we go to lunch and visit Santa.
You be nice to them, Danny, and get them to do the show. Then our lunch tomorrow can be a celebration.
Yeah, Dad, I think Grandma's right.
Thanks, Mom. As if pressure from the mayor isn't enough, now my own mother and daughter are leaning on me.
Don't worry, Dad. I think Hayward and Benson sound kind of dumb.
Thanks, Sam.
And you get Miss Norris to help you. She's got a good head on her shoulders.
I know she does. I wouldn't be in business without her.
And she's so lovely.
She certainly is.
And so good with kids. Sam and Polly just love her.
Oh, gee, Mom, if you like Miss Norris that much, why don't you adopt her?
Danny, you know perfectly well what I wish for every day.
What do you wish for?
Never mind, Polly. Come on, everybody. Let's finish up our dinner and go figure out where we're going to put this year's Christmas tree.
The next morning, Dan heads his car to Seattle's Belltown neighborhood, where the offices of Hayward and Benson are on the top floor of the 3-story brick turn-of-the-century Bedford building. Dan enters the lobby, finding a musty smell of damp plaster, as if a leak somewhere has gone undetected by the custodian. Up the many flights of stairs to the 3rd floor, Dan passes hissing radiators and yellowed posters advertising concerts and plays from the 1920s. Approaching the office door at the end of the dark hall, Dan sees, painted on the frosted glass, in an arc of peeling, gold, drop-shadowed black letters,
Hayward and Benson, Seattle's greatest comic duo. Modest, I like that. I'll just give a knock on the door.
Dan hears footsteps, and then watches as a silhouette of a small, stooped-over elderly man appears on the frosted glass. After a moment of silence, Dan reaches to knock again, when a voice calls out,
"Who's there?"
It's Dan Arthur. I have an appointment with Mr. Hayward and Mr. Benson.
You got the rolls?
Yes, sir.
What about the coffee? You got the coffee?
Oh, I do indeed.
Good. We're starting off on the right foot. I like you already.
Well, may I come in and meet you?
Oh, I don't know if we're up to meeting with you today. Benson's a bit under the weather.
So this is Mr. Hayward I'm speaking with.
Yeah, this is Hayward.
Oh, dear, I really would appreciate a chance to meet with you today. The mayor is counting on you, and, well, time is running out.
I'm sorry, Dan, but I don't think we can do it today. Now, why don't you just leave the rolls and coffee next to the radiator, and you just be on your way.
Hayward, what are you doing? Stop harassing that young fella and let him in this office.
These guys are worse than their reputation. At least Benson doesn't sound under the weather. Maybe we will meet after all.
All right. Come on in, Mr. Arthur.
Well, don't just stand there.
Oh,
Come on in.
Mr. Benson, is it?
Yes, Benson's my name. Comedy's my game. And look, you brought coffee and rolls for us. Well, how very kind of you, son.
Here you go. Black coffees and raspberry buns.
My very favorite. Why, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Arthur.
And you must be Mr. Hayward. Good to meet you in person.
The pleasure's all mine.
Let me hang my coat here on the rack.
Go right ahead, young man.
Is there someplace we could sit down?
As Dan hangs up his coat, he gathers that Hayward and Benson are in their 70s, and that time has taken its toll on both. Hayward, the smaller of the two, is stooped forward with curly gray hair on the sides of his head and a bald pate. Benson, standing tall and upright, has a full head of shiny white hair. In the tiny office, a receptionist's desk sits empty against the rear wall, and a wire wastebasket overflows with newspapers and paper clips. A line of chairs sits empty and dusty in front of a low coffee table strewn with magazines, and a calendar on the wall says 1935.
Okay, come on back to our meeting room through this door.
Well, thank you both again for seeing me on such short notice.
Sure.
Of course.
Being as there's a war on, I thought I'd just get right to the point, gentlemen. The city needs you. The people need you.
Okay, how much does it pay?
Let me back up a bit and tell you why the city and the people need you. You see,
Before you back up, tell Benson and me how much it pays.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. The most important thing is that this country is at war. People are anxious about the future, and they need a little happy distraction. My own kids are having trouble sleeping and have nearly forgotten about Santa Claus.
Yes, Mr. Arthur, it is a terrible time. People are upset. There's a war on. But what does any of that have to do with Howard and Benson?
I'm glad you asked. Hayward and Benson, you two guys are the embodiment of Seattle entertainment. People love you. My own mother, when I told her last night who I was meeting with today, went on and on about how great you guys were, how she and my dad went to see you all the time.
Your mom said that about us?
She did. She's a big fan. Everybody remembers the old Hayward and Benson shows at the Orpheum. They want more. They want some good memories to take their mind off the bombs and blackouts and shortages.
So?
Even my assistant's mother loves you guys.
I'll be done.
Yes. Everyone's mother does. So, what are you proposing, Mr. Arthur?
A Christmas show. Mr. Benson, Mr. Hayward, on Christmas Eve. A good old-fashioned Christmas show in my theater and broadcast on the radio to everyone in Seattle. Starring Hayward and Benson. All the old songs, all the old jokes. The two of you on stage with a professional orchestra and a line of gorgeous dancing girls.
Oh, come on, Dan. Nobody really wants to see us anymore.
Oh, but they do. They really do, Mr. Hayward.
Okay, let's just say for a minute that the people want to say Hayward and Benson in your theater, and they want to hear us on the radio.
Okay.
And let's just say for a minute that Hayward and Benson will cheer up the folks here at home and make a Christmas warm and loving time and take their minds off Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And let's just say for a minute that it'll be the greatest return of the two biggest stars in show business history.
Okay. I agree with everything you've said so far.
All right. So let's say old Hayward and I do your show out of a sense of patriotism and civic duty.
Yes, I like the sound of that.
So then my only question is, when do we get paid?
Well, that's part of the challenge that we are facing. Our fine city has nothing but the best intentions for this Christmas show. In fact, all the city has is good intentions. There's no money to pay you, to pay me, to pay for my theater. I'm afraid we've all been drafted into active duty for this one.
Mr. Arthur, we don't do anything for free.
Now, I understand. And in a normal situation, I'd be completely sympathetic, and I'd be fighting hard to get you paid what you're worth. But this time, this time it's City Hall, and they carry a lot of influence here in this town. And even if they don't pay, I won't even make any money off of ticket sales because the mayor has a list of political people he's inviting to attend for free.
What about the band and the dancing girls? They're getting paid.
No. Everyone's donating their time for the war effort.
Well, who's in charge of auditioning the girls?
Watch it, Benson. I don't want a repeat of Cincinnati.
Hayward, I think maybe this show would be fun.
Hold on there, Benson. Mr. Arthur, what about concessions? You selling popcorn or anything?
The mayor insists it all be free. Most of the stuff is being donated. I just hope I can get butter for the popcorn, what with the shortages and all. I know. Believe me, I know I'm asking a lot. But we're all being asked to make sacrifices now that we're at war. I'm too old to enlist, I think. But I know if we work together on this show, we'll give the city something they'll always remember, that we can be proud of.
Come on, Hayward. It'll be fun. God bless America, land that I love.
Benson, be quiet so I can think.
I could combine parts of my Uncle Sam outfit and my Santa suit for a big patriotic grand finale. And the old machine gun tap dance to deck the halls with
I love it, yes.
That'd be
Benson,
great.
didn't we always agree that I made the business deals for Hayward and Benson?
Well, it's been a while since we made any deals, but yes, that was our arrangement as I recall.
So what I say goes, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm making the deal this time.
Great, let's deal.
Here's the deal, Mr. Arthur. Hayward and Benson are not doing a Christmas show in your theater or on the radio, so good day.
But, Mr. Hayward, I'd really like to work something out with you. I mean...
I'm sorry, Mr. Arthur. I'll show you out.
Can't we, what about the war
effort? This way, please.
But, Hayward, why can't we do the Christmas show?
It's a matter of artistic integrity.
Are you sure you won't do it for the flag, for America?
Well, I wish you the best of luck with your project. Now, goodbye.
Dan Arthur finds himself out in the shabby hallway, surrounded by peeling paint and the musty odor of failure. The same hallway that had looked so promising a few minutes before was now depressingly hopeless.
The nerve of that guy. Artistic integrity? They have about as much artistic integrity as a street sweeper. Those musty old jokes, the corny songs, you'd think they were George and Ira Gershwin. And I was making such a great sales pitch. The show started sounding good even to me. Oh, well, what am I going to tell the mayor? What am I going to tell Miss Norris? What am I going to tell my mom?
We'll be right back with more of the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas.
You're listening to the Kixie Saturday Night Spotlight. This is AM 880 KIXI, your station for great songs and great memories. This evening, enjoying a live radio drama coming to you from the Museum of History and Industry. Let's return to the stage at MOHAI for more of A Homefront Christmas.
Welcome back to the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas. As Dan finds his way down the darkened stairway and out to his car, back in the offices of Hayward and Benson, the two old comedians are drinking black coffee from paper cups and eating pastries while their conversation continues.
You know, Hayward, we were really great in our day, weren't we?
Are you kidding? We were it. There was no one else who even came close.
So why don't we do the kids' Christmas show? Seems like a nice guy, this fella, and his mother seems like she's got her head on right. She loves us. Same with the assistant's mom.
It's a matter of artistic integrity. Trust me. We do not do shows for free. It sets a bad precedent.
But we haven't done a show for 20 years.
Well, we're not about to start now, especially for free.
And it's our big chance to get a start in radio. You always wanted to be on radio, didn't you?
Oh, radio. That's a flash in the pan. Can you imagine people sitting around listening to a box? Anyway, I thought it was you who always wanted to be on the radio.
Well, maybe it was. I can't remember now. Look, it's not as if we need the money.
You can never have too much money.
As long as we're fine and the royalty checks keep coming in for Clouds, Clouds, and Sunshine, and the other songs keep coming in. Clouds, Clouds, and Sunshine, that's all you've left for me. Clouds, Clouds, and Sunshine, it's all the eye can see.
If we hadn't written those songs and if I hadn't managed the Hayward and Benson publishing empire, we'd be selling apples on the street corner by now.
I know, and that's why I think we should do the holiday show. Artistic integrity never meant nothing to us in the old days. We never even had a script. It's just like we made it up as we went along.
Well, it may have seemed that way. It may have seemed that way to you. But I had a script in my head. And I always knew what our next moves were going to be. Like a chessboard.
You do?
In fact, I know exactly what we're going to do next. I certainly know what I'm going to do next. Now listen to me very carefully.
A dejected Dan Arthur drives silently from Belltown to Pioneer Square, gnashing his teeth and wondering what he'll do next to keep his business license. Meanwhile, back at the offices of the Arthur and Schraft Agency, Grandma, Polly, and Sam have arrived a bit early for the family's annual holiday shopping trip and visit to Santa.
Hello, Miss Norris.
Hello, Mrs. Arthur. Hi, Sam, Polly. How are you guys?
Hi, Miss Norris. Hi.
Well, Miss Norris, don't you look especially lovely today? How is my favorite matrimonial prospect for my darling son?
Oh, gee, Mrs. Arthur, you're making me blush.
What does matrimonial mean, Grandma? That means getting married, Polly. It does? Here comes Daddy.
Now, kids, don't you listen to your grandmother's foolish talk. Aren't we late for lunch and our visit with Santa?
No, Danny, we're right on time. I'm very excited to hear how your meeting went with Hayward and Benson.
Yeah, Mr. Arthur, how did it go?
I don't know what I'm going to do. There's less than 4 days until Christmas Eve, and the stars of the show have turned me down flat.
They did?
That sounds pretty bad, Danny.
Well, do you think it's a lost cause?
Well, let me put it this way. If the mayor has anything to say in this matter, I'm probably going to find a lump of coal in my stocking on Christmas morning.
Then what are you going to do, Daddy?
Well, I'm not giving up yet. I don't have any choice.
Is there anyone I could call while you're out to lunch?
Yeah, Dad. Is there some other washed-up comedy team Miss Norris can line up for the show?
Now, Sam, washed up might be going a bit too far. And no, there isn't anybody else who even comes close. Even I'll admit that.
So they're both against doing the show?
Well, not exactly. Benson wanted to do the show, but Hayward just wouldn't go along with it.
Oh, yeah?
Well, actually, it seemed like Benson mainly wanted to audition the dancing girls.
That sounds like old Benson, all right. Oh, it's almost noon. We should go or we will be late and lose our reservation.
I never have much luck keeping track of the time using this old pocket watch with no chain. Oh, well, I'll get my coat and hat and let's be off.
Well, have a nice time. See you when you get back.
Okay. Miss Norris, I need to talk to you about another matter, and, well...
Yes, Mr. Arthur?
Oh, gee, it can wait. Bye now.
Bye. I'll be waiting right here for you, Dan.
Dan, Polly, Sam, and Grandma make their annual holiday visit to the Tea Room at Frederick and Nelson, one of the fanciest restaurants in town. While at Frederick's, the family visits Santa Claus in the cozy Cloud Cottage and views the magical decorations inside the store and in the display windows. In the early afternoon, Dan heads back to work while Grandma, Polly, and Sam go home by bus. The momentary distraction of holiday fun quickly evaporates as Dan returns to the office and faces the prospect of trying to once again recruit Hayward and Benson for the big show.
I'm back, Miss Norris.
Well, that could be the mayor again. He called twice while you were out. I'll pick it up at my desk.
Oh, no. What am I going to tell the mayor? Let's see. Should I stall or should I just come right out and tell him that I'll tear up my business license right now?
Mr. Arthur, it's for you, but it's not the mayor. I'm not sure who it is, and he won't identify himself.
I'll take it. Could be the penguin guy or the mouse guy. They're both pretty strange. This is Dan Arthur. May I help you?
Hi, Mr. Arthur. Listen, I gotta make this fast.
Who is this?
It's Hayward of Hayward and Benson.
Mr. Hayward, hello. What can I do for you?
Well, Mr. Arthur, it's like this. I personally really want to do your holiday show.
You do? This is Hayward I'm talking to? Hayward wants to do the show? Well, that's great news.
Yes, and if it were only up to me, Hayward and Benson would do it for you.
But it's not just for me, Mr. Hayward. It's a show for the whole town.
Whatever. Listen to me for a second. I said I want to do the show, but I'm having trouble with Benson. He's adamantly opposed to the two of us appearing together.
He is? I thought he wanted to do it more than you did. I mean, he seemed like he was just...
Well, he's a hard fella, Reed. But when you've known him as long as I have, you can tell what he's really thinking.
I see. But you yourself want to do the show, is that it?
Yep, and I'm at my wit's end. I had to sneak down to the drugstore and use the phone booth so Benson wouldn't hear me calling you.
You did?
Yeah, and I've got to get back to the office pretty quick or he's going to wonder what I'm up to.
No, okay.
So you said it was the mayor that sent you to meet with us, right?
Yes, that's what I said.
I have an idea.
Okay, tell me what it is.
Well, I'm thinking that if you can get his honor to do a few favors for Benson, I might be able to convince him to do the show.
Favors? What kind of favors?
Well, Benson's not exactly been the squeaky clean Boy Scout over the years. And in fact, he's lost track of the number of parking tickets he hasn't paid.
Parking tickets?
Yeah, and speeding tickets, too.
Oh.
So, Mr. Arthur, Dan, if you think the mayor could do anything to erase Benson's tickets...
Gosh, I'd have to talk to the mayor about that.
Well, it's the only way to get Benson to do part of the show. And I certainly won't do the show without Benson. Hayward and no one doesn't have a ring to it. No, sir.
Well, I guess I can ask the mayor. Where's the harm in that?
That's the spirit, Mr. Arthur. Just don't tell Benson that you and I had this conversation, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do.
Okay, gotta run. Talk to you later.
Parking tickets? Speeding tickets? I really am going to go to jail. Oh, Miss Norris, can you come in here a minute, please?
Yes, Mr. Arthur.
That was Mr. Hayward. Now, get this. He thinks they can do the show if... Now, let me just grab that. It's probably the mayor. Arthur and Schraft Agency, this is Mr. Arthur speaking.
Arthur? Dan Arthur? The big show business producer?
Yes, to whom am I speaking?
Who is it? It's me, Benson of Hayward and Benson.
First it's Hayward, now it's Benson. Yes, Mr. Benson, what can I do for you?
Well, now, a guy like you could probably do plenty, but I'll get to that. Now, where was it?
You called to talk to me about the holiday show, maybe?
That's it. I'm so excited about your show. I think it's the most wonderful thing to come along in years.
You do?
Yes, of course I do. It's just, well, my partner Hayward just doesn't see it the same way I do.
Oh, he doesn't, does he?
No, in fact, I had to sneak over here to the coffee shop to call you from the phone booth.
You did?
Yes, I did. And can you believe they charge a whole nickel for a phone call nowadays? And I want you to dial it all by yourself, all 6 numbers. I was shocked. Anyway, I'm afraid Hayward's put his foot down and wants nothing to do with the show. Our time has passed, he says. Let someone younger have the limelight. No, he just doesn't want to do it.
That's too bad. These guys are a lot sharper than they let on.
But I think I know a way that we can change old Hayward's mind.
You do? Well, how is that?
Well, your big producer's connections to City Hall might help out. You could probably correct a little problem that Hayward has.
A little problem?
Oh, Hayward is never very sharp in his accounting, and it seems he hasn't paid any property tax to the city since, 1918.
1918?
A great year over there. I'll tell you, said the word over. It's going to be over there, because the Yanks are coming, and they won't come back till it's over there.
So, you'd like me to help, correct Hayward's tax records with the city, is that it?
You're a smart man, Mr. Arthur, a smart man indeed.
I'm willing to try. If it means you'll do the show now.
It's not for me, Mr. Arthur. I'm all for doing the show. It's for Hayward, who we need to convince. And I'll bet his honor has just what the doctor ordered.
All right, Mr. Benson. I'll talk to the mayor and see what I can do.
Okay, but whatever you do, don't tell Hayward that you and I talked about this. Gotta scram. See ya, kiddo.
Okay, so long.
What was that all about? Was that Hayward who called first and then Benson on the second call?
Those two guys are just about as harmless as a couple of old sharks.
What do you mean?
Well, let me put it this way, Miss Norris. If I can convince the mayor to break several laws and compromise the integrity of his office, we've got ourselves a wholesome show fit for the whole family.
We'll be right back with more of the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas.
You're listening to a live original presentation of A Homefront Christmas, coming to us from the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle. And this is the Kixie Saturday Night Spotlight from AM 880 KIXI. Let's get back to our story.
Welcome back to the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas. At a hastily arranged meeting that afternoon at City Hall, Dan Arthur recounts the day's developments and outlines Hayward and Benson's demands.
And so, Mr. Mayor, if you can help Hayward and Benson with their respective difficulties, they'll do the show. If you can't, Well, I've got my business license here, and you can just tear it up.
Why, those old devils.
I know. I'm sorry I even brought it up.
Those sneaky old devils.
I apologize for even suggesting that you could do such a thing.
How dare they?
They ought to be locked up.
The nerve!
I'm so sorry, Your Honor.
Sorry? Don't be sorry, Dan. Their request will be no trouble. Absolutely no trouble at all. Just a couple of phone calls.
Really?
Dan, let's just say that I'm owed a favor or two here and there throughout the civic establishment. Say, hey, you want another cigar?
So then you'll take care of everything?
Yes, Dan, it's a simple matter. Would you like a cigar?
So then I can keep my business license?
By all means. Cigar?
That's fabulous. I get to stay in business.
Of course you do.
Gee, that's terrific. Oh, but there is so much to do. I've got to get back to my office and get to work.
Hold on for one moment, if you can. I'd like to introduce you to my press aide, Mr. White, who's been working for the past several days to get the word out about the show. Go on in, Mr. White.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Glad to meet you, Mr. Arthur.
Nice to meet you.
You know, Mr. White is quite an enterprising young man. He's been working to publicize the show since I first had the idea.
He has? Before you even talked to me? Before I talked to Hayward and Benson?
I had nothing but confidence in you, Dan. Mr. White, why don't you give Mr. Arthur and me an update on your publicity efforts?
Well, first of all, I've arranged for front page stories in the Times and the Post-Intelligencer, before and after the show. Photographers will be here to take pictures of the mayor that'll run with all the stories. And the mayor, he'll be interviewed on several radio stations, and newsreel cameras will be there for the big show, too.
That's quite an update. I'll tell you one thing, that's far more publicity than Flinky the Tap Dancing Penguin would have generated.
You know, Mr. White knows how to reach the voters. I mean the public. Now, keep up the good work, young man.
Thank you, sir. Good day to both of you.
So long.
Now, Mr. Arthur, I must bid you farewell. I have to work on my closing remarks. Words to inspire the masses on to victory. You know, or something to that effect.
Well, I've got to run, too. There's lots to do before the curtain rises and the microphones open for Hayward and Benson's big holiday show.
The next few days are a flurry of activity as preparations and rehearsals for the big holiday show move ahead, and families all over Seattle get ready to celebrate Christmas. Just before 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve, as the show is about to start, a strangely nervous Dan Arthur makes a brief detour for one last special purchase before the holiday. Back at the theater, the mayor is dressed in a crisp black wool tuxedo, pacing the green room and practicing his speech. Miss Norris, Polly, Sam, and Grandma are in their fanciest outfits, waiting backstage when Dan arrives.
Danny, you're finally here. Where have you been?
Oh, I had an errand to run. I knew everything here was in good hands with Miss Norris.
I'm sure glad I don't have to dress up like this all the time.
But you look so handsome, Sam.
What up, me, Miss Norris?
You look lovely, too, Polly.
You all look great. Hey, Mom, do you want to come and meet Hayward and Benson?
Do I? Maybe they'll remember me.
Over this way. Here's their dressing room. Can we come in? It's Dan Arthur, and I've got my family with me.
Sure, come on in.
Everybody, this is Hayward and Benson. Hayward and Benson, this is Polly, Sam, and my mother. Miss Norris, you already know.
Good to meet you all.
Certainly it is. Certainly it is.
I'm a big fan of yours and so excited about the show.
Show? Wait a minute. Who's in it?
Cut it out, Hayward. We're all set. Mr. Arthur, let me ask you this question. Is the mayor happy?
He is indeed. Listen, thanks again to both of you for doing this show. It really will mean a lot to the people of Seattle.
Dan, before we go on, I want to apologize.
You know, me too, Dan.
Apologize for what?
Well, we were kind of rough on you when you first came to see us.
And of course, we were always going to do this show. We were just kidding around with you.
Well, you had me fooled. Then that parking ticket and property tax routine, that's when I knew we had ourselves a show.
It was Hayward's idea.
Somehow I'm not surprised.
Well, I thought it was a pretty good deal for everybody, especially for me.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. How are your closing remarks coming?
Oh, they should do a fine job of marshaling the Homefront troops on to victory. That's quite a good speech, if I do say so.
I like your style, Mr. Mayor.
Now, listen here, Mr. Arthur. I was talking to your mother and Miss Norris a bit earlier, telling them that you're very good at what you do.
Yes, Danny, the mayor is very impressed with your work on the show, and I am too.
Well,
in fact, I may call on you for help with my re-election campaign. Or better yet, you may hear from me if I choose to seek higher office.
I'm flattered by your kind words, but I had very little to do with the success of this show. If you want help with your next election, Your Honor, I recommend you hire Miss Norris here. She's the brains behind the Arthur and Traft Agency.
Oh, Mr. Arthur.
And she's quite beautiful, too.
Now, Mr. Mayor, you watch what you say to Miss Norris. She's a respectable woman.
Of course she is, Mrs. Arthur, and she'd make anyone a fine, fine wife.
As a matter of fact, while everyone's here, I wanted to make an announcement of sorts. Mom? Polly? Sam?
What is it, Danny? You're as white as a ghost.
Yeah, Dan, you just don't look too good.
Well, I've got some big news.
Big news? What kind of big news? Are you going to jail, Pop?
Yeah, did we get you in trouble?
Just a minute, Polly, Sam. Miss Norris, over the past few days, getting ready for this show, and really for the past few years, I've come to realize how much I depend on you and how special you are.
Oh, Mr. Arthur.
And, well, I know it's like a corny old movie or a bad radio play to do it this way, but, gee, Miss Norris, will you marry me?
Oh, Dan, what a beautiful ring.
Hooray! Attaboy, Dad.
So, what do you say, Miss Norris?
Of course I'll marry you, Dan.
You will? You will?
Of course I will.
Well, congratulations to you both.
Nice going, Danny. Miss Norris?
Well, Miss Norris, I'd say it's about time Danny popped the question.
Mom?
Oh, please, Mrs. Arthur, call me Susan.
All right, Susan, now you'll be Mrs. Arthur, too.
Polly, Sam, we're going to have lots of fun together.
We certainly will, won't we, kids?
I know I can't replace your mother, and I wouldn't want to, but I can help take care of you.
I can't wait. Me neither.
This is worse than a corny movie or a bad radio play, and I think I'm going to cry.
I think I'm going to cry, too, but we got to get out on that stage and do a show.
You're right, Benson. Let's go.
Hey, and we got to get to our seats. Listen, break a leg, you guys, and Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Come on, everybody. There's lots to talk about, but let's get to our seats now for the big show and see if old Hayward and Benson still have it in them.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and our radio audience listening at home, welcome to the Hayward and Benson Christmas program, coming to you live from the Bijou Theater in downtown Seattle, courtesy of the Mayor's Victory Committee.
Congratulations, Dan. You did it.
No, Miss Norris, I mean Susan, we did it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Benson, should we sing a song?
Why, certainly. It's Christmas Eve, Hayward. Of course we're going to sing a song. How about Deck the Halls?
Take it away, Benson.
Here we go. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. There the sheep. La 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 la. Tell me now, our day apparel. Have a dabba.
You've been listening to the MOHAI Radio Theater production of A Homefront Christmas by Feliks Banel. Tonight's radio play starred Dave Dolacky as Dan Arthur, Tracey Conway as Miss Norris, Chris Wedes as Hayward, Bob Newman as Benson, Bob Brooks as the Mayor, Christie Miller as Grandma, Nick Thompson as Sam, Christina Frost as Polly, and Rick Becker as Mr. White. Music was pre-recorded by Stan Morrison, with engineering by Matthew Bauer. Sound production was by Ken Zick. Live sound effects performed by David Person.
A Homefront Christmas was transcribed for radio before a live audience at the Museum of History and Industry in Seattle as part of MOHAI's second annual Home for the Holidays exhibit. This is your announcer, Dan Murphy, speaking, bidding you good night and Merry Christmas.